Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lazy Entrepreneur Podcast. We're your hosts, Sam and Emma Priestley.
Hello.
Emma, do you know what the most popular podcasts we've done are? The two most popular podcasts?
Well, based on our conversation last night, you said the budgeting one was very popular because of all the comments, but I don't know how many listens that's had. So no.
Yeah, that one's quite new. Maybe that'll be popular in a bit. But of all the 50 we've done, the two most popular ones have been the one about professional gambling and the one about value betting.
Yeah, so just like your blog.
It used to be the most popular and then Amazon FBA overtook it.
Yeah.
So I thought because of that we should do another one on gambling.
Lucky me.
Emma isn't as interested in professional gambling as I am.
So I just want to say, what was the comment that someone made after we did the value betting podcast?
Oh, they said something like, props to your wife for sitting through all that.
Yeah, because my wife definitely wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's alright. Emma's attracted to me because I'm nerdy.
Uh-huh.
Let's get nerdy about trading on Betfair. Do you know what Betfair is?
It's a gambling website.
Yeah.
I would have no idea what the term is. It's not a casino.
Or a sportsbook. It's a marketplace.
Marketplace, I wouldn't know that it was called that.
It's what's called a betting exchange, which works similar to a stock market. But instead of buying and selling companies, you're buying and selling the probabilities of an event happening. Yeah. So what does that mean? That means that instead of going to a normal bookie and betting that a horse is going to win, you can go to a betting exchange and you can buy and sell those bets with other people. Yeah, so just like on a stock exchange where you might be buying and selling companies, you have this bid-ask spread where people are offering to sell the probability of an event at a certain price and other people offering to buy it at a price, and this spread moves, and then when people agree on a price, a trade happens.
So how does Betfair make its money?
So Betfair takes a commission based on the winner of the event.
And is that a percentage? Is that percentage set?
Yeah, so they take on average 5% of the winning amount. Mm-hmm. The more you bet, the lower that amount gets. Mm. Because it's a marketplace, it means that you can trade on both ways.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about horse racing for the sake of this article, this podcast. So on a horse race, if I bought the odds of one horse winning at a certain amount and then the odds changed, the market moved, I could then potentially sell out that same bet and lock in a profit before the event has happened.
Okay.
So with Betfair Trading, what you can do before the race starts, you can buy and sell hundreds of times the same event, watching the market move up and down, and each time locking in a little profit or loss. So trading out of your position. Similar to how you do on the stock market. Let's say you bought some, IBM at £100, and then it went up to 110, and you sold your one IBM, you would have made £10 profit.
Yep.
It's exactly the same with that, with horse racing. So you can do all this trading before the event happens. Then when the event happens, the horse goes on and wins or loses or whatever, but you're okay because you've traded out. And so what I thought, once upon a time, and I still do, was that Betfair is pretty much exactly the same as a stock market. And there have been professionals making money on the stock market forever, basically, for 100 years. But on the stock market, everybody is a professional and it's quite developed and there's a lot of money there. Whereas on the betting market, it's mainly amateurs. It's people just going off and punting their bets. So I thought, could I take some of those techniques that were used in like the 80s on the stock market and apply them to the betting market and hopefully make a bunch of money? Before we start, I'd like to say that Betfair Trading is one type of professional gambling that's always eluded me. And I haven't yet got it to work. And I'm still kind of hoping that at one point it will work. So I'm just going to tell you the story of my experiences trying to make a living being a Betfair trader.
Oh, you should all see the smile on Sam's face while he's getting ready to tell you the story.
You should see the non-smile on Emma's face.
Yeah.
So I've always thought this for a while, that there's some way you can make money out of this system. And then in July 2009, so a little over 10 years ago, one of the professional gambling forums I was on had a competition, and it was a month-long competition, and everyone started with the same amount of money, and it was who could turn that money into the most amount over a month of trading on Betfair.
Yeah.
So I thought, this is the time for me to give this a go full time. So I thought, for 1 month, I'm going to be a Betfair trader full time. I'm going to get all the trading software. I'm going to set up my computers with loads of different screens, all with a different charts and stats on it and these ladder graphs. And I'm going to sit there all day betting on every horse race.
So hang on, at this point, had you done any professional gambling?
Yeah, by this point, I was already making decent money from gambling, yeah.
On Betfair?
I was doing like the match betting and arbitrage, which you can hear about in the other podcasts or on the blog posts.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is you weren't completely new.
No, I wasn't completely new. I'd already been doing it a couple of years or something. And was quite successful. But this I always felt was the dream. If you could make money on this. I thought this is where the big money would be.
How exciting.
I thought it looked really glamorous. You ever watch something like Wall Street, or where they're sitting there and they've got all the screens up there and they're placing their bets and they're in like this beautiful penthouse duplex apartment. There's a half-naked girl in the bed behind him and he's there doing his trading on the stock market.
No, that's not real life.
No, well, that's what I was hoping. As I sat down with my multiple screens and my charts and started trading. And so what I would do is I'd open up a horse race maybe 10 minutes before the race started and just try and trade the volatility.
Yeah.
As it moved, there was a bunch of things I'd look for, so you could see trends that were happening, so you could see the odds start to change, and you could try and chase the change to make money out of that. You could do a bit of market making, which was if there's a spread between the buy and sell prices, you could go in the middle and hopefully trade on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Knock in a bit of profit. You can follow the weight of money, so you can look to see if there's someone trying to place a really big bet, but doing it bit by bit, because if someone places a lot of money, it moves the market. So you can look for that. You can try and manipulate the market yourself by moving it up and down and hoping to trade off people's sort of psychology and see how they react.
So were these all assumptions that you had before you went into this month, or were these some of the things that came out of doing this month?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
A bit of both. I did a bunch of research. There isn't really that much information about it. I bought a few books about the stock market and didn't really learn anything useful. And I sat there for hours every day. I started off, because we only had a £50 float. So I started off with just £2 bets, and I placed my £2 bet. Hopefully the market would change a little bit. Then I'd trade out my £2 bet. And if I was successful, I'd make something like 3p.
Wow.
And if I wasn't successful, I'd lose something like 3p.
Yeah.
5p.
Whew.
So I did this day in, day out for 30 days.
Oof. I'm impressed you got through it.
And I won. I won the competition. I basically tripled my money. In the first 2 weeks, I lost money, and then I basically got back to break even.
Wow.
And then for the final 2 weeks, I just made consistent profit. And for the last, so I had a look at my history just now, and for the last 60 races I traded, I only had 3 losing ones.
Wow. You're getting pretty
I made
good.
an average of 50p profit per race.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So there we go.
Is that one of your proudest achievements?
Finished a month. Here I was, ready to make it in the big time as a Betfair trader. And that's it. And that's the peak of my Betfair trading success in July 2009. Basically, it's just so boring. Like, you're making 50p for half an hour work.
It's not very sexy, is it?
And like the emotional roller coasters you go through, as you know, the things are moving away from you, going up and down. So after I finished it, I thought, my first thought was, let's try and scale it up and place bigger bets. But I was already kind of bored of it by this point. So I thought, let's try and automate it. And then for maybe the next 5 to 8 years, I spent quite a lot of time on the automation. Once our gambling company got a bit bigger, We hired a PhD who worked on it for about 6 months. We hired another, like, couple of people at one point to try and build a better, like, model of Betfair to try and work out how the markets interact. I started, I did a few courses on data mining and big data and how to find information and stuff. Built like a few AI things to try and automate all this trading. I spent quite a lot of money and built a big back testing software. So we basically collected split second data from horse racing on Betfair for a couple of years so that you could run automated tests, see what would happen if you recreate your strategy over a year period. So you'd create a little AI that would go off and place bets for you, and then that would run for a year.
Was that successful?
Well, we built the software. That's what you mean.
No, but did you use it?
Yeah, but the problem is you can't backtest the effect that your money has on the market. So let's say I placed a £100 bet on the market. Me placing that bet will change the market.
Yeah, okay.
So I can backtest this software.
You can't base it on just what happened previously.
We can make assumptions in the software, like me placing this bet, it will get filled.
Yeah.
But maybe it won't get filled. And honestly, we never, like, each time we start a project, we'd get 3/4 of the way through and then give up. And never really finished any of the projects.
Why? You got bored?
Bear in mind, we were doing lots of things at the same time. So it would often be because something else came up.
Yeah.
So one or the other. So we would be trying all sorts of different ways to make money gambling professionally.
Yeah.
And one thing would take off, and so we'd kind of drop everything else.
Yeah, and focus on that.
And focus on that.
Yeah.
And the trading on Betfair never really took off. And so maybe a year ago, I started looking into it all again. I quit the business, this professional game business I ran a few years ago now. But because this trading on Betfair has always eluded me, and because, like, if you get some software algorithmically trading on Betfair for you, that's just like printing money. How cool is that? Just having a bit of software that runs around making money for you. That was a dream. And that still is something in my mind. And so Betfair is a betting exchange. There's another betting exchange that opened up called Smarkets. And they now make their money from prop trading their own market. So they don't make any money from the commissions, from the bets. They lose money. What they make money is they've got a team in-house who just trade on Betfair or trade on their own market.
What?
And that's where their money comes from.
That's mental.
Yeah. Isn't it? I think that's quite cool. It's a bit cheeky.
Yeah, really cheeky.
Yeah.
And they're public about that.
I don't know if they're public about that or not. At one point, we used to go head to head with them because we basically, when they started, their traders were absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
And so we found some ways to
identify them.
And then make money off them.
Yeah, because they were rubbish.
And then after a bit, we got a few, because we knew everyone. We knew the CEO of Smarkets, and he contacted us and said, "Guys, please, could you stop doing this?
You're destroying my business." Did he try and recruit you?
Yeah, actually, he did. Yeah.
That would have been a smart thing to do.
We did a proposal for them to market make on Smarkets, and what we wanted them to pay us a % of the turnover we did.
Yeah.
And they kind of agreed, but we couldn't get there on what % we wanted, and then didn't do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of looking into it now. Like, every now and again. Problem is, it needs a decent amount of time to just sit there for a month or two and just go like really deep into it all again. And every time I pick it up, I spend like a few days on it, and then I think I'll come back to it later. Yeah,
that's just not you at all.
It's not me, but it's.
I know it is.
One day I'm going to work this out. One day I'm going to work this out. And like, if you let's have a look at my laptop screen now. I wonder if I still do. It might have a load of bots on here, a load of algorithms. It always used to. I remember sitting on my computer for 5 years was a a bot called the ball and chain bot, which was one of my algorithms.
What a terrible name.
Oh, I thought that was quite a good name. Because it was a simple concept, and the idea was that Betfair is the main exchange, and there's a few other betting exchanges out there, and all the other exchanges are going to mimic what happens on Betfair, because if they don't, there will be arbitrage opportunities in between them. So I called it ball and chain, that where Betfair goes, everyone else has to follow.
Yeah.
But it's a chain because it's not immediate.
Yeah.
It will only start moving once the difference gets big enough for there to be an arbitrage. And so my thoughts were, we could pick up when the arbitrage is going to happen before it does by this ball and chain bot. But yeah, that didn't work. So, but probably just wasn't complex enough. So I had loads of these things I was working on. There we got into them. So why are we talking about this on this podcast? So one reason is I would be interested to know if any of the listeners have, made it from trading on Betfair. Because I did have one. There was one reader of the blog who contacted me and came to visit us in Tunbridge Wells. We basically started professional gambling at the same time. And when I went into arbitrage and value betting, he found opportunities in trading on Betfair and went that route. And so he was telling me some of like the strategies that worked for him that don't work anymore, but worked a few years ago.
Yeah, so now they make good anecdotes.
And it's just interesting, and it makes you think, because like we found one opportunity that he didn't find, which then took us in one direction. He found an opportunity I didn't find and took him in another direction.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
And he's still kind of doing it full time now and slowly retiring, basically.
So it shows how like open the opportunity is. It's not that there's this one perfect solution that you've got to work really hard to find.
No, it's all about finding a little niche that no one else has found.
Yeah, and that will change over time.
Yeah.
Just because you find something this year doesn't mean Betfair doesn't close it.
No, and it's also worth saying that the stuff I learned from trying to trade on Betfair, I was able to use on other marketplaces.
Yeah.
So...
What do you mean by other marketplaces?
So, for instance...
Within gambling?
No, not within gambling. So, for instance, Funding Circle is a peer-to-peer lending company. And they have an exchange on there where you can sell your loans. So the idea is you go on there and people say, I want a loan for my business. And then loads of people will lend a little bit of money to that business.
Yeah.
And they'll lend it for 1%. So it might be 12.5%. There's a secondary market where people who own little bits of loans of different companies can go and sell those loans. So they might say, well, I got it for 12.5%. I'll sell it at like a 1% premium to make a bit of money because the market's changed.
Yeah.
And so I built software which would trade on that and would look for... It was really simple. All it did was look to what the average price the loans were selling for. And then if someone put a loan up for sale for too cheap, I would buy it.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. Had a bit of software that just ran around doing that for 6 months or so. That worked quite well. So there's a few examples of that. I think one area where I should have gone into but didn't was in all the cryptocurrency trading.
Yeah.
Because there's so many opportunities there that just never particularly interested me. But kind of anywhere where there is an exchange, there are these opportunities that appear. In some respects, that's kind of what people on doing the retail arbitrage on Amazon are doing.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking.
It's another marketplace where they're just buying and selling.
Yeah, it's all about price.
So one thing people do on eBay is they have a bot that goes and finds stuff on Amazon that is sold for more expensive on eBay.
Yes.
And just copies the listing across, posts it automatically. Then if someone buys it on eBay, it just automatically puts the order through on Amazon. So it's all automated.
Wow.
And they'll have thousands of listings.
Wow.
It's the same sort of thing. It's finding little arbitrage, little trading opportunities, learning about the way the markets work, taking advantage of the way people react in certain situations. So that was one reason. If you have any experience, I'd be really interested in hearing from any readers or listeners. You can message me at hello@sampriestley.com. That's hello@sampriestley.com. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. And secondly, as I said, people seem to like the podcast we do on professional gambling.
Yeah.
So let's do another one. Something I haven't really talked about before. So was that as boring as you thought it was going to be?
No, it was a bit better. It's a bit easier to follow than the value betting one.
Okay. Maybe this should be a regular thing. Stories from the professional gambling days. So I got a lot of them.
Well, you do love telling them.
I don't think I told you most of them.
No.
Because you're just not interested.
No.
I once did a talk at a match betting conference. And I wish I'd recorded it. I was so in my element. There's so many silly stories.
Oh, the crowd loving it.
Oh, they absolutely loved it.
You've never told me that before.
It was really
That
good.
you did a talk.
Yeah, I did a talk. Like, it was a bit weird
What
because...
made you do that?
Just the guy messaged me. Like, I knew him from back in the day on one of these forums, and he messaged me to ask, I would come along. Wasn't doing anything better at the time, so I went along to it. But the problem is that everyone else doing a talk was using it to sell something.
Yeah, whereas you were there because you just wanted to tell some silly stories.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, of course, you went down quite well.
Yeah. And then he asked me again the year later to come back. And I think I said, I'll do it for
a fee.
£5,000 or something.
Yeah, so ridiculous that he's never going to pay.
And he said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you'd like that, then let us know as well. If you think hearing some stories. I really like talking to people who've done stuff like this, like professional gambling, because it's always so weird.
Yeah. It's very niche.
Yeah, you hear about an opportunity you just don't know existed. And it doesn't need to be about gambling. I was talking to someone the other day who came down to meet us in Tunbridge Wells from reading the blog, and he was telling me that he worked for a company where what they would do is just create those slideshows where it'd be whatever, top 10 celebrity bums or something, or cellulite or something, and it'd be, they're like slideshows, and you go on the website and you click through. So they would make hundreds of those a day, spam Facebook advertising with them, have advertising on the website, and they knew that if you got to number 4 on the slideshow, they'd be making money from the advertising versus what they were spending. So it was just an arbitrage.
Yeah.
They were paying advertising to get people on the website, knowing they'd earn a little bit more from advertising themselves.
Wow.
And they just found this little niche and grew it to a multi-million pound business in a couple of years. Yeah. So if anyone's got any stories like that, tell me more. Cool. Anything to add, Mrs. Truthfully?
No.
You got any experiences of Betfair Trading?
No, I have not.
Alright then. On that note, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Adios.